This episode is brought to you by Bull Johnson, who is running for Congress in Minnesota's 7th Congressional District. If you want to find out more and support him, go to bulljohnsonforcongress.us.
And now, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, Foolish, Kippa, Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom. First and foremost, allow me to thank Justin for the kava that I'm drinking on the shows this week.
And allow me to thank Le Bleu for this water. Yum, 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 Buluvanaka.
Buluvanaka.
And as always, be sure to follow us, subscribe to us, like our comments. We are on all podcasting platforms, all social media platforms, Muddied Waters Media Production. And of course, if you're doing this on YouTube, don't just subscribe, hit the bell. We want your phone to explode with notifications.
The House of Representatives passed Protecting Our Kids Act, which was passed mainly among party lines, minus the 5 Republicans that voted for the measures. This bill was a conglomerate of multiple gun control legislation all crammed together in one omnibus legislation. Yeah. The bill included generally prohibits the sale or transfer of certain semi-automatic firearms to individuals who are under 21 years of age.
By the way, I just want to say something. So when they say semi-auto, they make it sound like some kind of... Semi-auto is the standard. It just means when you pull the trigger, a bullet comes out.
One pull, one bullet.
It means it's not bolt action or single load. It's a gun. It's
right.
not...
It's not an automatic where you just
like a
pull
revolver.
Yes.
A revolver that does not require cocking would qualify as semi-automatic because there is a semi-automatic process whereby when you pull the trigger, it shoots.
Right. That's what a semi-automatic. That is the...
And in between pulls, it's loading the next round into the chamber so that you can fire again. Or in the case of a revolver, moving the cylinder in so that it'll be the next one to fire.
Right. It establishes new federal criminal offenses for gun trafficking and related conduct.
Unless you're the ATF.
That's very true. Does this also mean, like, the 21 years of age, does this mean that we're not going to allow people in the military till they're 21? You can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't own a gun?
No. 17-year-olds can continue to sign up to be trained to go overseas and use multi-million-dollar weapon systems to kill people in countries around the world. But when they come home, they can't defend their own home.
It establishes a federal statutory framework to regulate ghost guns. Establishes a framework to regulate the storage of firearms on residential premises at the federal, state, and tribal levels.
Yes, the government that has lost and cannot find 6 nuclear weapons thinks that you haven't been storing your firearms safely.
And they're going to go, again, to the Native Americans and tell them that they aren't storing their guns properly and they're going to need to take them.
That's the problem.
Yeah. That's the issue.
That's been the problem.
Yeah, that's the issue.
That's the real problem the natives have had, not marginalization and disarmament at a systemic level by government and rendering them unable to defend themselves against tyranny. No, the real problem is that the natives have not been storing their weapons correctly.
Yep.
That's why they call all those missing weapons, nuclear weapons, that the government has lost, that's why they call them broken arrows as an homage to the natives.
It's Jesus Christ.
So it's the gesture that counts, right? It's the thought that counts.
It subjects bump stocks to regulation under federal firearms law. generally prohibits the import, sale, manufacture, transfer, and possession of large capacity ammunition feeding devices. You know, like the 300,
Which, by the way,
300 round magazines that Biden likes to talk about.
Yeah, what they're calling, again, they're coming up with scary terms for the standard. So what they're calling high capacity is standard capacity. It's just standard capacity.
Wait, no, so yes, yeah.
Not that government should have any business telling you what the capacity of your magazine should be. But what they're calling high capacity isn't even high capacity to begin with.
Right. And what they're doing poorly is, like, Biden is going out there and he's going, nobody needs a weapon that can fire 300 rounds. Like, you don't need to have that. And to give the image that there is a 300 round magazine somewhere out there that a serious person would purchase.
Yeah. I mean, you can get one.
Sure.
But it's not exactly going to give you a tactical advantage.
No, it's not. It's going to jam a lot.
It would jam a lot, and it'd be heavier than the gun itself by quite a bit.
By a lot.
It'd be kind of cool looking,
you're trying to hold up the gun.
Yes. Oh, especially if it's a pistol. Yeah.
Just. Of course, if it's a pistol, you could just use it as like not a tripod, but
put it on a table.
The one-legged tripod thing.
That's true.
The monopod, and requires the Department of Justice to report on the demographic data of persons who are determined to be ineligible to purchase a firearm based on a background check performed by the National Instant Crime Background Check System.
That is race-based pre-crime. They don't need the demographic data. If this is about protecting us from dangerous individuals, their demographics wouldn't matter.
Right.
That
is
the foot in the door for future actions of just straight up saying we're going to enforce more heavily in certain areas. And those certain areas are going to be poor people, racial and ethnic minorities, veterans, immigrants, the dangerous ones.
Right.
That is
the
beginning of race-based gun confiscation and racial profiling. They would not need that. They wouldn't want or need that if that wasn't the next step. And of course, Joe Biden has a long and sordid history of introducing race-based legislation that disproportionately harms those who are marginalized.
To be fair,
that tracks perfectly.
To be fair, so do the Democrats.
Yes.
They have a 200-year history of that.
Yes.
But with the 50-50 split that is currently in the Senate, with November looming, and the severity of these bills as far as taking away people's rights or, creating a race-based precog.
Yeah. That's scary.
That's scary.
That's the scariest part of all of that
is a scary
right there.
One. It probably won't reach the 60 votes necessary to defeat the filibuster.
Right.
So what these 9 bills are, for the 223 people who voted for it, to pander to their voters and say, hey, we tried to do something, but the Senate just wouldn't, sorry, the darn Senate. And that is what those are. However, a bipartisan group of 20 senators led by Senators Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, and I get them confused. John Cornyn, Republican from Texas. Same guy. Yeah. Same guy, just not Mormon.
Same guy. Texas Mitt Romney.
Texas Mitt Romney. God, I wish I had I knew names of cattle, and I would just give him a nickname that sounds like Mitt and just call him that forever. I'm going to have to ask
Here, you work on this. I'm going to go try to find that while you're talking.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Have agreed to a common sense proposal to curb gun violence. And whenever they say common sense, what they are saying is that that you're an idiot if you don't think that we need gun control. They are saying that you cannot be of the common sense. They are literally insulting your intelligence whenever they say that this is common sense gun control. 10 Republicans have signed on to this bipartisan framework, which means any legislation based on its principles has a good chance of mustering the 60 votes and overcoming the filibuster in the Senate. The senators who signed the statement included the four who led the negotiations: Chris Murphy, John Cornyn, Tom Tillis, and Kirsten Sinema. Kirsten Sinema. I always get that one wrong.
Kirsten Sinema.
The others are Richard Blumenthal, Roy Blunt, Cory Booker, Richard Burr, Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, Chris Coons, Spike's favorite Senator Lindsey Graham, Martin Heinrich, Mark Kelly, Angus King, Joe Manchin, the acting president of the United States, Joe Manchin, Rob Portman, Mitt Romney, Debbie Stabenow, and Pat Toomey. Now, you may go, that was a lot of Republicans. Yes, it was 10, as we said. But this is actually, as far as those 10 Republicans go, this is not a bad political move for them. It's a terrible move for, us. But it's a bad political. It's not a bad political move for them, because the odds of them seeing any kind of blowback for this is on the low side. 4 of the 10 are retiring this year. Another 5 are not up for re-election until 26, and the other one is Mitt Romney, who is a Mormon.
Who does whatever he wants.
Right, who's a Mormon running for re-election in Utah.
And he'll get it. By the way, update, you can go with either Holstein Romney for John Cornyn, Holstein Romney, or Black Angus Romney. Those are both terrible. I was really hoping there was a cattle breed that rhymed with mitt.
Yeah, me too.
There's not.
The 6 who are retiring the 6 who aren't retiring are relying on short memories. They're like, okay, we don't have to worry about this for another 4 years. When this comes back up, when this comes around, we can talk about how we were strong on gun control and who is going to remember. Because the Democrats aren't going to bring it up. Whoever I run against isn't going to bring it up. And they're right. The 4 who are retiring are proving what we already know. And they'll say whatever it takes to get them elected. And then on their way out, they'll do whatever they will to make them favorable in the eyes of the media for the rest of their lives. Or if you're Mitt Romney, you do that as soon as you lose the presidency, and then you just become hated by 60% of the country.
Yes. Which has worked well for him because he can get reelected. He can, in Utah, get elected for anything he wants to, and is routinely heralded by both Republicans and Democrats. Mitt Romney is basically the personification of the two-party system.
Yes.
And how it will fail you.
Yes.
Never forget that
Graham
Obamacare was... Lindsey Graham is another example. Mitt Romney created
Obamacare,
what ended up becoming Obamacare. Then he ran against it while defending what he did, which was the model for Obamacare. Romneycare in Michigan. In Massachusetts.
Yeah, Massachusetts. I don't know why I said
Michigan. It was literally 2 people arguing in favor of the same system branded differently.
Yep.
Welcome to the two-party system. Stop voting for it. So here is a breakdown. This plan is not official, but here's the framework that we have so far. There is going to be support for state crisis intervention, aka red flag laws, aka being swatted by your neighbor. But in 2021, the Supreme Court ruled in Caniglia versus Storm that caretaking duties do not create a standalone doctrine that justifies warrantless searches and seizures in the home. But the federal government will fund these programs even though they're unconstitutional.
They've been ruled unconstitutional.
I'll say that again. The federal government is passing a law wherein the federal government will rob you to fund programs that the federal government ruled are illegal.
What? And what it appears that they're going to be doing is they're going to, because they can't have a federal red flag law
Right.
department, what they're going to do is they're going to give money to the states in order for them to have red flag laws. Yeah. This will make states do it because the states will take money.
They want money.
They want money, so they'll do it. And you will see more red flag laws happening. And I'm going to preface this with I do not support red flag laws in any way, shape, or form, but I would be much more okay with this if there was a Tom Cotton approved mandatory minimum sentence on somebody who puts in a fake red flag law.
And since there's not going to be one of those, I have a great idea. If this passes, we should all regularly report every politician, every government agent, every retired politician, every candidate, every police officer, every corporate media talking head, every billionaire crony, every gun grabber advocacy celebrity that you can name. And don't file a false report. Cite the actual threats of violence that they have all undertaken, and just flood their system with a bunch of actionable threats that they won't do a damn thing about. Just it's like a DDoS attack, a denial of service attack. Flood them with so much stuff that they won't do anything about, that they're not able to do anything. Let's just destroy this system. And by the way, this has been done before. New Zealand and one other country tried introducing some kind of program where you could report people for having guns. And so memers went on the internet and they even encourage you to submit pictures. And so people were submitting all sorts of pictures of all sorts of stuff. And it eventually shut the program down. They don't do it anymore. We can kill this. You can kill this by making it entirely unenforceable, by just slocking it up with a bunch of crap that they can't. Actually, it's not even crap. Real credible threats that they won't do anything about. Let's make government impotent.
That's a great idea. Right, I got nothing else. That's a great idea. Investment in children and family mental health services, which this means more money is going to be sent to bureaucratic agencies that will end up with more people having DCS in their lives. And they're going to come in, they're going to talk to your kids. The kids are going to say, yeah, daddy's got a gun. Then they're going to take the kids.
Yep.
That is what's going to happen here. You're going to hear about this happening after this passes. And it's going to be
kidnapping of children. Kidnapping of children. Parents own firearms.
Yep. Going to happen. Because the federally approved therapist is going to come in and say, does daddy have any firearms, or does mommy have any firearms? We're libertarians. I know we all have firearms. So does daddy or mommy have any? I'm not going to gender those in this group.
No. It's like everyone.
Everyone.
Does every single person you know have firearms?
Right.
Yeah.
And the child will be like, I don't want to get them in trouble. So yes, they do. And they'll go, okay, well, no, this child lives in a house with firearms. We need to take the child. And now that child is a ward of the state, and it's going to live a much worse life than it would because it won't have anybody to protect it.
Where they will statistically be more likely to commit violence.
Oddly enough.
With illegal guns that they purchase anyway, because these don't do anything to stop people from getting
possibly
guns
with the guns that they took from you.
Yes.
It has protections.
It's a circle of life.
The protections for it has protections for victims of domestic violence, and this closes the so-called boyfriend loophole, which we talked about on the show a little while ago.
Yeah.
And that means there are rules on the book that if somebody is if somebody is married and the husband is hurting the wife, and there is a case of domestic violence against the husband, he cannot purchase a weapon. This closes that loophole and says if it's a boyfriend, you no longer will have to be married. But it will also end up making it harder for the victim to protect themselves if they're under the age of 21. If everybody gets their way.
And again, if someone has already decided I'm going to commit murder, they're not sitting there going, but you know what? I cannot risk violating my state's gun laws.
This wouldn't even be...
Can't do it.
Right.
I could get in trouble. I could get fined. I could do jail time. Murder, I'm cool with. Murder,
Totally
they might execute me or put me in jail for the rest of my life. But
got to wait to do this murder until this waiting period's up.
I am going to have to wait until this background check passes before I commit these murders.
This background check that I currently have a domestic violence charge on.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go through the legal process. If you're gonna commit murder, go through the legal process.
Yeah, that'll work well. It has funding for school-based mental health and supportive services. This goes back to the one we were talking about earlier. This will end up with DCS taking a lot of children. That's what that's going to end up. Funding for school
confiscation of children.
Yes. Yep. Funding for school safety resources. That is all the information I was able to find on this. So no word is this means school resource officer, safety resource, or whatever you call them in your state, or more security measures like cameras, metal detectors, or doors that automatically lock when you close them.
In other words, likely you're either going to end up with, instead of 20 officers standing outside doing nothing like a bunch of cowards
25.
And threatening horrified parents, you'll have as many as 40 or 50 officers outside doing that.
Because they have no responsibility to save you.
Yes, as affirmed by the Supreme Court on multiple occasions. That whole protect and serve thing, they should put an asterisk at the end of it because they have absolutely zero legal or ethical obligation to protect or serve you. That's not their job.
It's not their. This one I have no clue what they're talking about. Clarification of definition of federally licensed firearms dealer. Now, I have no clue what they are looking for.
If that is related, so I know the ATF was considering a rule change or had done a rule change that was greatly widening the definition of a licensed firearms dealer, or as a firearms dealer requiring them to get licensing. I assume this is legislation that would do that, which just basically makes it more expensive and harder to legally produce weapons.
Yeah, and so
I will assume that's what that is, but we don't know.
Yeah, that's what I would assume too. I also know that one of the things that has been proposed, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know if it's in this or if it's in the Protect Our Kids Act, where they were saying they wanted to make it a law that in order to take apart a gun, disassemble a gun, reassemble a gun, clean a gun, or something else, I don't remember what the fourth one is, you have to be a dealer. Yeah. So you wouldn't be able to do it at home unless you were a federally...
You can't clean your own gun.
Right. That's one of the things that was being proposed somewhere. I don't remember which one it was in. Another thing that has been agreed upon is telehealth investments, which basically this means you can get government intrusion into your life through an app on your phone that isn't Facebook.
Yeah. This is stealing your children by phone.
By phone. I need to talk to you. I've been really upset recently. I'm really depressed. Okay, are there any guns in the house? Yes. Do you have children? Yes. Okay, DCS will be there. And you called them.
Yeah. We'll be swatting you. Thank you for swatting yourself.
Penalties.
We are very quickly reaching a point where, all of the advice we give about not talking to police officers, we'll have to give that same advice when it comes to doctors and mental health professionals.
Yeah. Yes.
Because they're being weaponized to be snitches.
Yeah.
Doctor, I'm not feeling too hot. Okay, you have any guns? I'm not answering questions. Am I being detained? Like, that's where we're headed, folks.
That is 100%. Like, I've already reached that point where they ask me questions and I'm like, I don't like that question. I'm not going to answer it.
I'm not answering.
My doctor hates me. With a passion, he hates me. He's like, why won't you answer that question? I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to be a statistic.
Don't want to.
I don't want to answer.
I'm sick. What are you eating? That's none of your damn business.
It's none of your damn business. I don't want my insurance rates to go up.
That's true.
Penalties for straw purchases, or as I'm calling it, the Kyle Rittenhouse law. They are trying to end the ability for someone to buy a gun for someone else.
Legally. Because again, as you're reading this, and I know if you're watching or listening to this, you probably already understand this, but I need you to lovingly beat this into the heads of everyone around you. When you hear these proposals, just add legally to the end, because this is with the idea of stopping murder. Murder is illegal. The people who are doing the murdering don't care what the law is, and there are more guns than people in America. There are literally more guns in America than there are human beings. It is impossible to stop bad people from getting guns. Literally, all this does is make it harder for people who care what the law is to be able to get a gun.
Yep.
That's it.
Anytime somebody's been like, well, we need to get rid of the guns so people won't murder, I have had 100%, well, it hasn't worked because they're so steadfast in their ways, but I've had 100% success rate with, how hard was it for you to get weed? And I had to change that because it's legal like almost everywhere now, to cocaine.
Perfect. Well, and here's the thing. The fact that it's legal right now is a perfect example. It's still illegal at the federal level. No one cares. No one cared when it was illegal at the state level. People care even less now that it's illegal. Now that it's legal at most state levels, No one cares. Most of those states where it's legal but regulated, the vast majority of people are still buying it illegally because it's way cheaper, because the black market provides. No one cares.
It's inflation proof.
Now, yes. Now apply it to guns. Apply it to the things that, for whatever reason, people seem to think that the government should be stopping you from being able to get. All this is going to do is keep people who actually follow the law from being able to protect themselves. And for the vast majority of people who follow the law, those aren't the ones we have to worry about. Because one of the laws they follow is don't murder people.
It also has enhanced review process for buyers under 21. The framework calls for an investigative period to review the juvenile, criminal, and mental health records for gun buyers under 21 years of age. This would include checks with state databases and local law enforcement. Now, they're not doing that for people who are trying to enter the military. Not doing it. In fact, people who get in trouble a lot as teenagers, at some point, and I'm pretty certain it's empirical and not anecdotal, when kids get in trouble a lot, at some point, somebody looks at them and says, okay, I'm going to give you the option. I'm going to send you to jail, or you can go join the military. And they're like 17, 18, and they go to the military. They don't have good juvenile criminal records. They probably don't have good mental health records, and yet they're sending them to the military. But somebody here,
because of that,
because in order to protect them,
they're sending them to the military because they're frightening.
Right.
Also,
like, I know 5 people that's happened to.
The Uvalde shooter. Oh yeah, no, that's very common.
Yeah.
I was when I allegedly used to get in trouble, they would say that, and I'm like, no, I don't want to kill anyone. So the Uvalde shooter, had this been in place, the enhanced review process, would have passed it.
Yep. Would have passed it.
He would have passed it. He didn't have any kind of juvenile, criminal, or mental health record that we know of.
That's because nobody reported any of the stuff that he did. The police were like, "Oh yeah, we'd heard about him, but we didn't do anything because
it wasn't on paper.
It wasn't on paper. And it's like, well,
this is all. It's all a bunch of crap.
It is all.
And if they banned it outright, he'd just get it illegally because, again, murder's illegal, folks. We need common sense murder. What we really need is common sense murder control. Do you know what common sense murder control is? Peaceful people that are armed.
Yes.
That's common sense murder control. That's a tweet. I'm going to tweet that right now.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed the latest episode of the Muddy Voice.
Yeah, let's finish the episode before I tweet it.
Yeah, we're not live anymore. We can't just...
Just wait a second. I'm just going to tweet this. Yeah, folks, thank you for tuning in again. And if you are if you're one of the freeloaders, if you're not a subscriber, then join us next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. for the next episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, the next free episode. But if you're a subscriber, then tune in later this weekend, we will have the week's special subscriber-only content. Subscriber-only episode. What's it going to be? I can't even tell you unless you're a subscriber.
You're going to have to find a subscriber and ask them.
You have to ask a subscriber or become one yourself by going to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe. And you too, for the price of just $10 a month, you can, for a decreasing number of bottles of water or coffee a day, thanks to inflation, you can get access to weekly exclusive Muddy Waters Media subscriber-only content. You also get an ad-free experience on Anchor and on Spotify, and you get a discount to our Muddy Waters Media store, which you can go to by going to muddywatersmedia.com and then pressing the store button. So, become a subscriber, and you can get all the sweet, sweet content today, or join us next week if you're one of the free people. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.